Okay, welcome back to educator.com. This next lesson is on multiplying integers. When you multiply integers, it's very important to keep in mind that if one of the two numbers is negative, then your answer is going to be negative. And if both numbers are negative, then your answer will be a positive. Very different than when you add or subtract integers. So make sure you keep that rule in mind. This is very important. So if only one number is negative, if you have one negative sign in the problem, then the answer will be negative. If you have two numbers, think of it as those two numbers cancel the negatives out, so that the product will be a positive. Okay, so one number, then the answer will be negative. And if it's two numbers, then the answer will be positive. So if I'm going to multiply, let's say a and b together. If I multiply a times a negative b, okay, then my answer is going to be, because I only have, this is a positive, remember there's no sign in front of it, then it's a positive. So positive times a negative is going to be negative. This is negative ab. Or if I have negative a times negative b, we have two negative signs, right? So then my answer will be a positive AB. Let's do a few examples. The first one, negative 5 times 7. Negative 5 times 7. Well, we're going to multiply these numbers the same way. Okay, so 5 times 7 is 35. Now, I only have one negative sign, right? I'm multiplying from the two numbers that I'm multiplying, only one is negative. So my answer will be a negative. Okay, and this one, negative 8 times negative 4, I know that's a 32. I have two negative signs. Two negative signs gives me a positive. Another way to think of it, if you have an odd number of negatives in the problem, then your answer, your product, will be a negative. If you have an even number of negatives, like 2, 4, 6, 8, then your answer would be a positive. So every two negatives cancel each other out to make a positive. Okay? So even if you're multiplying four numbers together and they're all negatives, you have four negative signs, so that's going to give you a positive answer, positive product. 3 times negative 10, 30, and then I have only one negative sign. That's a negative product. Okay, what about this one? This one, the answer is 60. If I multiply these two numbers, positive and a positive. Okay, this doesn't change. This is just 12 times 5 is 60. There's no negative signs involved. 20 times negative 12. 20 times negative 12 is 20 times 12 is 240. And then we have one negative sign right here. Positive times a negative is a negative. Okay. This next one, 11 times 10 is 110. And then a negative sign times a negative sign. You have two negatives, so that makes a positive, right? It's a positive 110. Okay. So again, when we're multiplying two numbers, we have only one negative sign. If only one of the numbers is negative, then the product will be a negative. If you have two negative signs, it's going to become a positive. So in this problem, 7 times 9 is 63. I have a positive here, I have a negative here. I have one negative sign, so that's going to make my answer a negative. This next problem, I have a few things I have to solve out. But the first thing I always solve out is parentheses. I must solve my parentheses first, and this is order of operations, right? So order of operations says parentheses. I have parentheses right here. I'm going to solve this out. So it's negative 7 minus a 3. From the previous lesson on subtracting integers, I'm going to use a 2-dash rule to make this subtraction problem into an addition problem. So I'm going to do that. Keep this in parentheses. -7. Make this a plus, and then a negative. Okay, so this becomes -7 plus a -3. They have the same sign, so I add the numbers and keep that same sign. So the absolute value of -7 is 7, plus the absolute value of -3 is 3. So if I add those two numbers together, I get 10. But then I have, since they're both negative, I have to keep that same sign. So this rule is very different than multiplying integers, right? So always keep in mind what you're doing. Are you adding integers? Are you subtracting? Are you multiplying? And then the next lesson is going to be dividing integers. So for each of them, think of the different rules and just keep practicing the problems too. So then this was -10. Okay. Now I still have another parentheses I have to solve out. So this one right here is already an addition problem. We don't have to change this problem like we did this one because it's already a plus right here. Okay. And the whole point of changing this was to make it a plus. So a -15 plus 8, they have different signs, so we're going to take the difference of their absolute values. -15, the absolute value of that would be 15, and then the absolute value of 8 is 8. So if you find the difference of 15 and 8, that's 7. And then the sign we take from this one, the 15, and that sign is a negative, so I give this a negative. And then just going to write this out again right here. So -10 times a -7. So 10 times 7 is 70. And then I have a negative times a negative. So I have two negatives, and that's going to make my answer, my product, a positive. Okay, so think of two negatives canceling each other out. And that's going to be positive 70. Okay, so that's it for this lesson on multiplying integers. Thank you for watching educator.com.